The moon hung low over the thick African jungle, casting silver beams through twisted vines and towering trees. A young tourist, backpack strapped tight, stumbled deeper into the shadows, his flashlight flickering. He wasn't supposed to be there at night. Suddenly, his beam caught something, half buried beneath roots and earth, a golden glimmer. His breath caught in his throat. Gold. Real gold. He dropped to his knees, brushing away dirt with trembling hands. But as his fingers touched the cold metal, a strange sound rippled through the silence, like drums, faint at first, then stronger. The leaves shivered, though no wind blew. He froze. The jungle had eyes, watching. Earlier that day, the tourist's name was Daniel, a young man from Europe who had come to Africa chasing adventure. While other travelers stayed near the cities and beaches, Daniel wanted more. The wild, the untamed stories whispered in the villages. He had heard rumors from locals about an ancient jungle, a place where men vanished and treasures lay hidden beneath the roots of time. Elders warned him, "The jungle does not give without taking. Do not go there at night." But Daniel's curiosity burned hotter than fear. So, as dusk fell, he strapped on his backpack, a single flashlight in hand, and slipped away from the safety of his lodge. He told no one where he was going. By the time the sun disappeared, the jungle had swallowed him. Strange sounds filled the darkness, crickets, owls, and whispers that sounded too human to be just the wind. Yet Daniel pressed on, unaware that something ancient was already watching him from the shadows. Daniel's flashlight beam cut through the vines, when suddenly, something glimmered beneath the roots of a massive baobab tree. His heart skipped. He crouched down, brushing away the damp leaves and soil. There, half buried, was a lump of gold, raw, unshaped, but shining even under the dim light. His breath quickened. This is real," he whispered to himself, unable to believe what he was holding. But the ground beneath him seemed wrong. The earth was warm. The roots twisted in unnatural shapes, like they had grown to cage the treasure. And just as Daniel lifted the gold, the jungle shifted. The night birds fell silent. Even the crickets stopped. The silence was deafening until a low growl rolled out from the darkness, echoing through the trees. It wasn't one animal. It was many, circling, closing in. Daniel froze, clutching the gold to his chest. But deep inside, a cold realization struck him. This gold wasn't lost. It had been placed. And by taking it, he had awakened something that should never have been disturbed. Daniel's flashlight flickered as he spun around. Between the thick trees, dozens of glowing eyes blinked back at him. Yellow, red, and some a pale, ghostly white. He tried to steady his breathing. "Just animals. It has to be animals," he muttered, but even his own voice sounded hollow in the jungle's silence. Then came the sound. Branches cracking, leaves rustling, claws scraping against bark. The eyes moved closer, too synchronized to be wild beasts. Suddenly, one stepped into the light. It wasn't a lion, nor a hyena. It was something Daniel couldn't name, a creature with the shape of a man, but the face twisted, ancient, covered in markings that pulsed faintly like fire beneath the skin. The others stayed hidden, but their eyes glowed brighter with every step he took back. The gold in his hands grew hotter, almost burning, as if rejecting his touch. Then a voice, deep, layered, neither man nor beast, rumbled from the shadows. "You have taken what was not yours, and now the jungle takes you." Daniel bolted. He didn't care where his feet carried him. He only wanted to escape those glowing eyes, that voice that seemed to vibrate inside his skull. Branches tore at his arms, roots clawed at his legs, but he ran faster than he ever had before. Behind him, the jungle moved. Not just the creatures, but the trees themselves seemed alive. Branches closing in, vines snaking downward as though the forest wanted to trap him. The pouch of gold clanged against his chest, heavy, hot, as if it were alive. Daniel thought of throwing it away, but his greed and fear tangled together. What if I survive? This will make me rich forever. He stumbled into a clearing lit by the pale moon. For a moment, relief washed over him. The open sky, space to breathe. But then he froze. Circling the clearing were the creatures, dozens of them, standing upright, their eyes glowing brighter now, their bodies painted with symbols that shimmered like fireflies. They had been waiting for him. The leader stepped forward again, towering, its voice booming through the trees. "Every hand that takes the cursed gold must pay the price. None have escaped." Daniel clutched the pouch tighter, his mind spinning. None have escaped? Did that mean others had tried before him and failed? The jungle fell silent, as though holding its breath for his next move. Daniel's heart pounded like a war drum. He tried to swallow, but his throat was dry. "Please," he stammered, his voice trembling. "I didn't mean to steal. I thought it was just gold, just lying there. I'll give it back." He loosened the pouch and tossed it toward the towering figure. The bag hit the earth with a dull thud. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the leader bent, picked up the pouch, and poured the shining nuggets into its clawed hand. The gold glittered unnaturally, each piece pulsing with a faint red glow. The creatures let out a low, guttural chant, swaying as though in ritual. But the leader did not look satisfied, its burning eyes locked onto Daniel. "It is not the gold we want. It is the life it has already claimed." Daniel stumbled back. "What do you mean? I gave it back. Take it. I don't want it." The circle tightened. Shadows twisted across the clearing as the chanting grew louder. Daniel realized with horror that the gold had not been his to return. By touching it, by claiming it, he had already been marked. Suddenly, the leader raised its arm and the chanting stopped. The jungle seemed to inhale. A single voice, cold, final, echoed from the creature. "The curse chooses. You cannot unchoose it." Daniel felt a searing heat burn into his chest, right where the pouch had hung. He ripped open his shirt and saw a mark glowing on his skin, the same symbol painted on their bodies. The gold was gone, but the curse had stayed. Daniel staggered back, clutching at his burning chest. The glowing mark throbbed like a second heartbeat. Every nerve screamed in pain, but worse than the pain was the realization he was now one of them, at least in part. The creatures began to retreat into the shadows, melting away as silently as they had appeared. Only the leader lingered, its fiery eyes fixed on Daniel. It spoke once more, each word heavy like thunder. "The curse binds you to the jungle. To leave, you must prove yourself worthy, or be claimed by us forever." And then, just like that, the clearing was empty. No chants, no figures, only the hiss of insects and the echo of those dreadful words. Daniel collapsed to his knees, shaking. His chest still glowed faintly. He wanted to believe it was just a nightmare, but the pain, the mark, and the absence of the gold proved otherwise. He scrambled for his backpack, searching for his flashlight. Its weak beam cut through the trees, but the jungle felt different now. The trees seemed alive, their branches curling toward him, watching. Every shadow looked like eyes. Desperation clawed at him. He needed to get out, find the trail, the village, anything. He stumbled forward, but each path he chose twisted back on itself. The jungle was trapping him, rearranging itself like a living maze. And then he heard it, the sound of drums, deep, rhythmic, and ancient, echoing through the darkness. His blood ran cold. He knew what it meant. The trial had already begun. The drums grew louder, pounding like the very heartbeat of the jungle. Daniel stumbled through the undergrowth, following the sound against his will. His feet felt heavy, as though unseen hands were dragging him forward. He burst into another clearing and froze. There, in the middle of the space, stood 3 massive stone totems, each carved with grotesque faces. Their eyes glowed with the same fire that had burned in the creature's gaze. A voice rose all around him, low and commanding. "Choose your path, outsider. One leads to freedom, one to madness, one to death." Daniel's chest throbbed, the glowing mark burning brighter as though pushing him toward the totems. Sweat poured down his face. He staggered closer, reading the strange symbols etched into the stone. They shifted as he looked at them, twisting into shapes that made no sense. Suddenly, the ground split beneath the first totem. From it slithered a massive serpent, scales black as night, its fangs dripping with venom. From the second, fire erupted, forming a blazing circle that danced and crackled as if alive. And from the third, silence, nothing but a dark, yawning hole that seemed to swallow light itself. Daniel's heart pounded. He was being forced to decide. But how could he? Each path screamed danger, yet something told him that hesitation could be deadlier than the choice itself. The drums boomed again, shaking the ground. "Choose, or the jungle will choose for you." Daniel clenched his fists, his chest burning like molten fire. He had no idea which path was survival and which one was a trap. He closed his eyes, took a trembling breath, and stepped forward. Daniel's foot landed on the ground before the serpent's totem. At once, the massive snake hissed, its body curling higher, eyes glowing with the ghee, same fire he had seen in the jungle. His chest seared with pain, the glowing mark pulsing like it had recognized the beast. The serpent lunged. Daniel stumbled back, raising his arms, but instead of striking, the snake coiled around him, tight, suffocating. He gasped for air, certain it would crush him. But then something strange happened. The mark on his chest flared, brighter than ever, and the serpent froze. Its grip loosened, its head lowering until it rested at Daniel's feet, bowing like a servant to its master. Daniel's heart hammered. He realized in horror and awe the jungle wasn't trying to kill him. It was testing him. From the trees, the glowing-eyed creatures appeared again, their bodies swaying like shadows come alive. They chanted in a language Daniel couldn't understand, their voices blending with the drumbeats until it felt like the entire jungle was speaking through them. He who carries the mark shall awaken the guardian. The gold is not treasure, it is the chain. He who wears it commands, but also bears the curse. Daniel staggered, staring down at the serpent now coiled beside him like a loyal dog. He understood, finally. The gold he had taken had bound him to something far older, far darker. The jungle had accepted him, but it had also claimed him. The voices rose to a deafening pitch, and the ground beneath him trembled again. From deep below, something vast and ancient began to stir, something even the serpent seemed afraid of. Daniel whispered to himself, trembling, "What have I unleashed?" Daniel collapsed to his knees, the echoes of the serpent's hiss fading into silence. The jungle, once alive with haunting drums and glowing eyes, grew still. The mark on his chest cooled until it was nothing but a faint scar, like it had never burned him at all. He looked down at his hands, empty. The golden idol he once clutched was gone, swallowed by the earth itself. His breathing slowed as realization dawned on him. The treasure had never been his to keep. Behind him, the whisper of wind carried a chilling truth. Greed awakens what you cannot control. Respect saves what you cannot see. Daniel stumbled back toward the village, broken but alive. When the locals saw him, their eyes widened, not with fear, but with recognition. The elder stepped forward and said quietly, "You have seen the guardians. Few return. Fewer still return changed." Daniel had entered the jungle seeking gold. He left with scars, with terror, and with a story no one would believe. But deep in the jungle, as the moonlight touched the trees, the glowing eyes reopened, watching, waiting for the next soul foolish enough to disturb their slumber. The jungle kept its secrets.